Okay, so if you've spent any time at all online looking into gut health, you have definitely seen it. The parasite cleanse. I mean, it is a massive trend, right? There are countless videos, tons of testimonials. But what is the real story here? Today, we're going to dive deep into the science and separate the actual facts from all the hype. And this right here, this is a feeling so many people have. You know, when you're dealing with fatigue or bloating or you're just feeling off. It's so easy to look for that one single culprit. And parasites, well, they seem like the perfect villain, don't they? It's a conclusion thousands of people land on, totally certain that a cleanse is the magic bullet for all their problems. And look, let's be clear. The panic isn't coming from nowhere. Parasites are absolutely real, and they can be incredibly dangerous. We're talking about serious diseases like malaria that's caused by a parasite, or toxoplasmosis. These things have been around for as long as we have, and they can cause some truly devastating effects in the body.
So, what exactly is a parasite? Well, at its very core, it's an organism that's just taking advantage of its host. It lives off of you, it eats your food, and it gives absolutely nothing beneficial back in return. It's a purely one-sided, you could say extractive, relationship. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. See, our gut is also home to trillions of symbiotic organisms. These are the good guys. We give them a place to live and food to eat, and in return, they give us incredibly valuable stuff, like compounds like butyrate, which literally fuels the lining of our gut. Parasites, though, they do the complete opposite. They're not part of a healthy gut. They actively damage it. So that brings up a pretty big question. If these unwelcome guests aren't supposed to be there, how in the world do they get in? And what are they actually doing once they've set up shop inside you? Let's take a look. Well, for the most part, parasites get into our system through things we eat or drink. Contaminated water is a huge one, and so is food that's been grown in contaminated soil. You know, things like unwashed produce, that lettuce in your salad, can be a super common vehicle. And of course, just poor hygiene when you're preparing food can easily transfer these organisms. In fact, one of the most common parasites out there, Giardia, is often foodborne. Once they're inside, they start causing trouble in a few key ways. First, they're directly competing with you for the nutrients from the food you eat. Some, like tapeworms, will literally latch right onto your intestinal wall. But here's the crucial part. Many of them release toxins that damage your gut lining. They weaken these little things called tight junctions between your cells. And that damage, that can lead to what we all know as leaky gut. And just when you think you've got this whole thing figured out, the story gets, well, a lot more complicated. Believe it or not, some people who have really severe allergies or autoimmune diseases have purposely infected themselves with certain kinds of intestinal worms, and they've actually seen their conditions get better. I mean, one patient routinely imports worms from Thailand to help balance his health. It's a wild example that just goes to show how complex our relationship with these organisms can actually be. Okay, so we've established that parasites can be a problem. But here, right here, is where that story you see online takes a dramatic turn away from reality. Let's get to what is probably the most important part of this whole explainer. So, let's ask the critical question. For the vast majority of people out there who are experiencing these really common, frustrating health issues, are parasites really the hidden enemy that they're made out to be? And here is the answer. Based on modern, super comprehensive gut testing, a staggering 95% of patients who show up with leaky gut and autoimmune issues do not have a parasite problem. Let that sink in for a second. For 19 out of every 20 people, the real issue lies somewhere else entirely. So, if that statistic is true, then why is everyone so convinced they have parasites? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is in how we've been testing for them for decades, and how those old methods basically created a massive blind spot. This is a classic, real-world example. A patient suffers from horrible diarrhea for weeks. She finally goes to the ER, they run the standard ova and parasite stool test, and the results come back totally clean. They find nothing. This happens all the time, and it leaves both the patient and the doctor completely without answers. So, here's the crucial difference in testing. The old method, that ova and parasite test, it's literally a person with a microscope looking for parasite eggs. So if the parasite isn't actively laying eggs when that sample is taken, the test misses it completely. It's an old, unreliable system. But the new tests? They analyze the RNA and DNA in the stool, reading the unique genetic signature of every organism that's present. It has completely revolutionized our ability to detect these things. Okay, so what about that 5%? For that small number of people who, based on proper testing, actually do have a parasite, what's the path forward? What really works?
Well, the good news is that a lot of those age-old natural treatments are genuinely effective. Compounds like wormwood, oregano oil, garlic, and berberine have been shown to work really well, especially when you use them in combination, to help clear these unwanted guests out of the system.
And then, of course, there are pharmaceutical options. Ivermectin, which, became famous for some other reasons recently, is actually an FDA-approved and very effective dewormer. But to understand why it works so well, we need to geek out on just a little bit of biology. See, ivermectin is what's known as a mitochondrial uncoupler. Now that sounds super complicated, but the concept is actually pretty simple. Your mitochondria are like the power plants for a cell, creating energy called ATP. An uncoupler, like ivermectin, basically just pulls the plug on that power plant. It uncouples the energy-making process, the cell can't make ATP anymore, and it dies.
So ivermectin is incredibly potent at shutting down a worm's energy production, which causes it to die. Now, you might be asking, wait, isn't that dangerous for me? Well, the whole reason the FDA approved it for this use is because studies showed ivermectin isn't absorbed by the human gut. It stays in the gut, it does its job on the worms, and then it just passes right through without affecting our own cells. So here it is. Here's the bottom line. Before you jump on that parasite cleanse bandwagon, just remember that for the huge majority of people, parasites are simply not the root cause of their issues. All the internet hype is being fueled by symptoms and guesswork, not by the accurate, modern gut testing that can give you real answers. Ultimately, it really all comes down to this question. When it comes to your health, chasing trends can lead you way down the wrong path. The real power is in understanding what's actually going on inside your body. So don't guess, test, and follow the path that is backed by real science.